Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 92 of the Showbound podcast. I'm your host, Michael Raskin, here as always with Ethan Cardwell. Cards, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Another day, another dollar. It's a beautiful snowy day here in Barrie, Ontario. No, it was a good day though. Had practice and stuff like that. Got a nice long week here before we hit the road for a 3-3 up to Saginaw, my old stomping grounds. We'll get into that in a little bit, but no, I'm doing quite well. How about yourself?
Everything's good here. It's snowy here as well in Niagara. Had a busy week. We had a couple big wins for the Badgers and for the Falcons, who I'm back with. So the boys are just buzzing all around, winning. Um, I spoke with the Mississauga Steelheads yesterday with the
Okay.
Gavin boys. So that was a fun time. Got to meet a couple of those guys. Couple finance whizzes on that team, by the way. So
Oh
some
yeah.
sneaky smart players there. Um,
Okay.
but that they know Showbound and listen and stuff. Maybe they listen to this one. So shout out Mississauga, I guess.
Yeah, debatable shout out. I don't know about that. I mean, but no, that's good to hear. I mean, I love when I hearing like about guys in the league, like listening to it and stuff like that. And um, yeah, I forgot to mention too, going to the Leafs game very soon here, actually tonight versus the Rangers. So I'm excited.
Oh yeah, and our guest this week is a former Toronto Maple Leaf. We might as well name drop it now. We got Frankie Corrado, who he played for Vancouver, Toronto, and Pittsburgh, your favorite team in the NHL, well, after San Jose.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a good guess we got dropping. So looking forward to that one. And now he's, in the world of media with TSN, so lots of insight with him. Um, but yeah, I know, like, let's talk about Barry a little bit. You scored an OT winner, did you not, recently?
Yeah. I forgot about that actually because everything's kind of just been formed into one lately because we're playing so often and stuff. And as I mentioned before, it's nice to kind of have a long week where we can just kind of relax and practice a bit again and get our rest, get the bodies feeling right. But yeah, no, a Tuesday night at the Harry Lumley Bayshore Community Center. That's a mouthful, but it's always a pleasure to play there against the Owen Sound Attack. So it was yeah, like I said, Tuesday night, and yeah, I wasn't playing amazing before that. Wasn't like had a tough game in Mississauga on a Sunday. The game before that kind of wasn't feeling the puck all that well, and then yeah, it's funny how hockey works. So I got we had a 3-0 in overtime actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Clarkey just kind of headmanned it to me, and then me and Veers were in 2-0 and went back and forth, and I was lucky enough to be the recipient of the goal on that one, and felt good to get the monkey off the back, especially in overtime.
Yeah. Always good. Actually, I remember the video now. I have it.
Yeah,
So
it was
that was a
crazy.
pretty nice passing play, man.
Yeah, actually, the funniest ththing was so we had a 3-0 in overtime, and then we had a 3-on-1 that we scored on us three players in the game as well. So
Okay.
um,
So you guys are just
yeah,
odd man rush flying. Actually, on the OT goal, like it looked like Veersy could have scored that. Like when he got the puck, if he shot it, it's probably going in. Just the movement of the puck there. Do you think so?
yeah. I mean, like 2-on-0s are tough for goalies. So I mean, like one movement, and I mean, unless he guesses it real well, then yeah, it's probably going in. But no, he's a nice guy. He likes to dish it around. So I got the last touch on her.
Yeah, there you go. Um, yeah, we got I want do a couple like U Sports shout outs. So first of all, Team Canada U Sports University won the World University Games gold medal in hockey. I don't know if you saw any of that.
Yeah, I did. I saw that actually, and former teammate of mine, Brady Gilmore, on that team as well.
And Kyle Bowlers.
Cowboys.
Yeah, so it was a sick roster. Like if you look up and down, they were all just good junior players. So yeah, that's pretty sick for Canada. And another U Sports shout out. We got Luke Philp, 3-year U Sports player for the University of Alberta, made his NHL debut last night for the Chicago Blackhawks. So another former U Sports player breaking into the show. So that's always sick to see. And maybe a potential future guest. So we'll see about that one. And another thing I want to talk about, cards, like if we move away from hockey for a sec, but The Bachelor is back. Did you watch the
The,
first
the
episode?
No, I couldn't watch the first episode because why? Why couldn't I have?
What were you up to on a Monday night?
I actually had something going on. Um no, you know what? I was visiting my girlfriend and I was driving back from my visit. So I missed the first episode, but the boys here were talking about it and we're like, hey, like we haven't done like Bachelor Mondays in a while. So I think we're gonna get back in the rhythm of it. So then that leaves us only one option and it's to get the segment going on. Did you watch the first episode?
Yeah, I did watch the first one.
Okay, so why don't you let me catch up and then we'll get into full swing on it.
Yeah, I'll let you catch up and we'll bring the segment back and then, but I won't like spoil anything, but just Zach the Bachelor, like, because you didn't watch the last Bachelorette, right?
No.
So yeah, Zach was like this one of the stars of that one, and everyone kind of really started to learn his character and like him a lot. Like he made it deep into the show and stuff. And as the Bachelor, he's the first like Bachelor since I've started watching it that I think is actually like a genuine person, and he's not there for
Yeah,
fame
yeah.
and stuff. Like he seems like a normal guy who actually is just like a normal person. And he's I think he's a year older than me.
Damn, that's actually crazy to think. I always think about that too when I'm like looking at NHL players and stuff like that. And now, like in all sports too, that the one that like is mind blowing for me is like I'll look at like a an NFL roster or like a college football roster, and when you watch those things, you're like, oh, these are like men and stuff, and it's like, oh, there's an 03 out there. That guy's younger than me. Like it just doesn't even make sense. And like here you are, the next eligible like you're eligible of age to be on The Bachelor. Basically, it's like it's crazy to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, what a comparable there. That's funny though. But yeah, there's a couple other things too. Like I'm trying to think. I've been back in the gym, man. I'm grinding.
Oh
So
no, I feel
I'm
bad for all the people in there. They can't attack the smaller weights because you got them all hogged off.
well, here's the thing. So I'm working out at Athlete Farm Niagara. Well, shout out Athlete Farm. We got a Showbound promo code for them, 10% off. Uh
Actually, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
yeah.
I'll let you do the code in a second, but I've been seeing us on your store. I thought it was a joke at first. I thought like because this is like a full on training thing, like you're training to go pro. Like, are you not telling us that you're going to the Fed soon or something?
Well, so that's part of what I was gonna say. I mean, quick, yeah, 10% off Showbound promo code. We'll get into that in a sec. But the people at this gym that I'm training with are like full on legit. There's Olympians in there. There's two of them that I've already trained with. Two Olympians in there. There's like legit like high end hockey players, like a lot of rugby players from Brock are in there. There's like sick athletes, and I come in and I'm not. I'm definitely not a sick athlete, but I don't look out of shape physically. Like if you look at me, so they assume like the trainers.
Hey, why don't you just take off your shirt and do a couple flexes for everyone right now?
Yeah, maybe we get some like a subscription content going, and we get that stuff. You could be flexing on camera for some money, maybe for some of our fans. Anyway,
That's hilarious.
but point is, like I'm sitting there, and so they don't know like I'm as weak as I am, and I'm doing these workouts with these crazy athletes, like doing the same thing as them, and I'm dying like early. And it's a lot of it's like circuit based workouts. So it's more muscle endurance and cardio, which I don't even have like on top of all the weights that I can't do. So I'm sitting there just grinding away, and they're like, "Come on, like go harder, like you can push." I'm like, I'm so out of shape, like I can't. And they're like, they're helping me get back in shape. Honestly, more than just get back in shape. I'm gonna be a freak. Like couple more workouts, I'm gonna be like 6'4", 225.
Yeah, like the workouts that I saw you doing, like at first I was like, oh, this is like just Rask messing around like on his Instagram. And then I'm like, I see it again and I'm like, oh, like this is like legit. And like the training isn't like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do a couple like curls and call it a day. Like you're doing like legit dynamic workouts. Like you're training to get back. So if any teams in the Fed are listening to this,
I'm hanging. They're hung up. I'm not coming back. But I'm gonna honestly like it is a really sick gym and the trainers are awesome. Let me just give this a quick little read here. Athlete Farm Niagara is a high performance athletic training facility that equips athletes to unleash greatness through purpose driven training. That's the thing, purpose driven training. It's not just like curls for the girls. Um, Whether you're an elite hockey player or someone who wants to stay in shape, be strong, and feel good, Athlete Farm Niagara will have you covered. And like I was saying before, you can book your first trial session now for free, or you can use the promo code Showbound for 10% off all training packages. Visit www.athletefarmniagara.com to book or find them on Instagram at Athlete Farm Niagara. Um, anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna be a tank pretty soon, and shout out Athlete Farm Niagara, but it's uh it's cool. Actually, our assistant coach at Brock is the owner of the gym. He's a former U Sports player as well, an ECHL player. But he's just a beast in the gym, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. We've had a couple guests on here. I think, you know how sometimes we ask like what would you do if you couldn't play hockey or whatever? Like we've had a few, I think, say like be a trainer, right?
Yeah. No, like man, I always think about that too because like my trainer back home, Evan Kernahan, like at the fitness garage there, it's in Whitby, and he like started it up on his own and like built it like from nothing, and now he has like such a strong client base, and it's like it would be cool and like really rewarding to like be able to like know that you've played like an instrumental role in like somebody's career and stuff like that. And it's just like I feel like it's such a chill job. Like you just kind of get to you get to work out, which is obviously your passion if you're doing it. And then on the side too, like you just get to like have conversation and like push people to get the best out of them.
Maybe post career Cardsy. Maybe we open up a gym. I'll run the business of it. You can work with the athletes and stuff. I'll do like the finance and all that. And with your connections, we could get a real
And
thing going post
that
career.
would that actually be
We can
sick
make some
too.
real money, man. Open a few
Oh
locations.
yeah. Oh yeah, you put a little synthetic ice in the back for some
Oh
shooting.
yeah.
Get a skating treadmill, and you're well on your way.
We can call it Showbound too or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
like
that's a good
the next
name for a hockey gym,
yeah,
man.
Showbound, the next generation or something like that, because it'll be years removed for us.
Oh man. Once you sign, let's get this signing bonus right into the first investment on the land. That's
That's
hilarious.
awesome.
Hey, the
But
Gavin guys are gonna love this if they're listening right now.
oh yeah, just yeah, spend all your money right away. Just to I'm opening a gym.
Anyway, anything else we want to talk about here before we flip it over to Frankie Corrado?
I want to talk a little bit about. I want to get your thoughts on the Bruce Boudreau
Oh yeah.
situation in Vancouver. Obviously, like it's a tough situation, and you can kind of see like he was so noticeably like upset about it, and fair. Like I would be too. I'd be distraught. I think like it's a very unseen situation in the sport and stuff like that. So from management side of the thing, like you work on that side of it. So I don't have as well of a take maybe or knowledge about that side of things. So I want to know what you think about what went down.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna give a take that maybe most people might not have heard or agree with. I think in most coaching change situations mid-season, um, this is how it normally goes down. Like they knew they wanted Taka, but they got to go through the negotiations, the interviews, the HR process, like all that stuff. And they didn't want it to get out. Like it got leaked. Now, in most cases, they're doing that stuff anyway. So then right when they have Taka or like whatever the coach ready to be hired, they fire the guy and bring in the new coach immediately. But normally it just doesn't get out. They were doing that as a normal coaching change would happen, just like when Bruce came in last year. But unfortunately, it got leaked. And so I think Vancouver didn't want to just fire him just because it got leaked. Like they still wanted to stick with their process that they were going to do. And unfortunately for Bruce, it got out. And then he kind of knew, like, yeah, this is happening for real. But I don't think Vancouver was like trying to dick him around. They were just trying to go through their normal hiring process that they did a year before. And unfortunately, it got leaked and it led to the big thing. Now, I definitely feel bad for Bruce. Don't get me wrong. But from everyone's like ripping Vancouver. And at the end of the day, like the media, especially in a big market like that, are so like there's so many insiders that are trying to get hands on it. So I don't think they should fire him just because they were going through the process that they were going to be going through already. Like, so yeah.
Here's another little way to look at it. So Bruce Boudreau is like a well liked coach by the fans and everything like that. He's never really done anything to upset anyone. put John Tortorella in his shoes, do people care?
Probably not. I mean, I think Tortorella is hated by the fan base, man. I mean, there's definitely some that like him because
I'm
they
just
like that.
saying, like in general, wherever he is, like if Tortorella was in Vancouver and that happened to him, or if he was in Arizona, say, I don't know, anywhere. But like if that situation went down, do you think the same reaction, or do you think it's
No, I
because he's
think they
so
might
well liked?
say he. I think they might say he has it coming. I think, and yeah, because Bruce is such a well liked person, they feel bad. He's just like a lovable guy, but and Torts, like you're saying, isn't. I guess.
Well, yeah, and it's like, and it also happens too in the for players. Like, I mean, like when a player gets put on the waiver wire, they're just it's like, okay, see ya. Like nobody, like it kind of just happens quickly, and everyone, like the player knows it's happening, but I don't know. I think it's just because he is such a well liked guy that everyone has like such a connection to him, and the Bruce there it is thing. Like I was at a restaurant after my game, and like um, I was just watching the game, and all of a sudden, the Bruce there it is chant breaks out in the restaurant that I'm at. I'm like, what's going on right now?
Yeah, no, that was really cool by the fans, honestly, man. Like that was a cool thing to see. And just one comment on the waiver thing you're talking about. I don't know if you saw this. It was like a week or two ago, but Dolps, obviously Zach Dolpe, like he was in the NHL for a while there, and he got yeah, you know what I'm saying
I
about his
saw
son.
this.
So let me just I guess I'll explain for the listeners who wouldn't have seen it, but Zach Dolpe, who we've had on like a great interview, someone we're gonna have him back on. We gotta have him back on soon.
We have to, especially now that like we were talking about him like being set in the A and stuff, and he was like, "No, like I want to make it," and like to see like how this year's unfolded for him. I bet you there's some stories.
Yeah, he's stuck in the show for a while, and one thing I want to talk about. I'm getting sidetracked. I'll get back to where I was going with this, but um, you know how I don't know if you noticed this in the interview. He referenced his dad so much, like about calling his dad and all that.
Hmm.
And while he was up in Florida, they had the father's trip, and
Yeah.
he made that Instagram post. Like I knew that was really emotional for him and his dad. Like based on our interview with how much he talked about his dad. So that was cool.
Right.
I have a lot of stuff to ask him about. But anyway, going back to where I was originally going for the listeners who don't know. So when Dolphs was waived and sent back down to Charlotte from Florida, he clears waivers and he posts an Instagram video of his son, and his son's just going another year, another clear. Every year he gets sent down and waived. It was just so funny. Like I don't know how old he is, like 6 years old maybe. So it was just hilarious to see that. But
Dude, I
um,
was
yeah,
laughing my ass off when I saw that. It just also goes to show you how much of like a lighthearted guy he is himself. Just to be able to joke about that, like, 'cause some guys would be like really pissed off and stuff, but
yeah.
for him to be able to make jokes about it and stuff, and he's one of my favorite follows on Instagram. He's always got some funny stuff going on there with his kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's so funny, man. I love Dolph. We'll definitely get him back on. But yeah, no, good thing you actually brought up the Bruce situation. I did want to talk about it. We've kind of we is there any other NHL sort of things we got to talk about? Um, this kind of thing. Bruce was the
Uh,
big story of the week, no doubt. I mean, there's the obvious like McDavid's on a different level, and we got Bedard who's also like doing McDavid things in the dub. So there's all that.
don't look
Um,
now. Cole Perfetti's coming for the Calder. He's
yeah,
he's starting to tear it up now, find his stride, like really get stuck in. I mean, he got was out for a few games, but to see him dialed in now, I've been talking to him. I've been saying like, let's make a push for the Calder here. So, but no, he's playing really well. So that's good to see.
yeah, he is. I always just go through the scores of games and see who's just getting points and stuff. And I see he's in there every night with an assist or a goal and like he's doing well. So maybe we get Fets back on, man.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we got a ton of guys lined up right
Yeah,
now.
we're working to get a bunch of good interviews lined up and
Yeah,
um
I think we should also address the fact that like the reason we're so out of sorts and stuff right now is we all have so Raskin's working for two teams right now. I'm playing for the Colts and we're in the final stretch of the season here. And normally the people that we're gonna meet with are also in the final stretch of the season. So to be able to line up three schedules is real tough. So I know it's no one's
yeah.
fault but our own, but just bear with us.
And it will get better. Yeah.
It
And
will.
we're working on banking some interviews now. Cards, I got 8 games in 10 days right now. I'm in the middle of it. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, it's sickening, really, to think
Yeah,
about.
tonight is one of my only nights off, um, and anyway, like yeah, we're gonna get it going, and we know we can pull off the occasional episode without an interview, and you guys have enjoyed that, so we're gonna, if we need to put out some content and with the schedules and stuff, like we'll do what we can, but we appreciate everyone for bearing with us, definitely. And we can just about send it over to Frankie Corrado, but before we do, we got a message from our friends at Manscaped. Newsflash, gentlemen, Valentine's Day is almost here, and by the grace of Cupid, our friends at Manscaped are coming with the best tools to get your boys downstairs ready for the special occasion. I'd like to propose making February 13th National Shave Your Balls Day. Who's with me? Get lucky this V Day and join the 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in below the waist grooming, with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code SHOWBOUND for 20% off and free shipping. The holidays went by so quickly. Did you remember to take care of your package with the best tools for the job? The Platinum package from Manscaped is the all encompassing package that every guy needs in their life to make each and every day just a little more special. The headliner in this package is the Lawnmower 4.0. The trimmer's advanced skin safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate parts. It even has a 4000K LED spotlight so you can shave anywhere your heart desires. Did I mention that it's waterproof too? This package also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer to whack all the worst of your weeds. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts: their shed travel bag and anti-chafing boxer briefs to keep your boys stored comfortably. No Platinum package is complete without the ultimate hygiene bundle to get you fresh from head to toe. This bundle includes Manscaped's premium body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, body and ball deodorant, and much more. Infused with aloe vera and sea salt, Manscaped's body wash will have your skin feeling clean, fresh, and hydrated all date night long. And for when she runs her fingers through your hair, make sure your mane is hydrated and irresistible with their 2-in-1 shampoo. And don't forget, gents, no date night is complete without Manscaped's signature cologne. This is guaranteed to put her in Cupid's chokehold. Your balls and lady will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOWBOUND at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code SHOWBOUND. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. All right, we're pleased to be joined now by Frankie Corrado. Frankie, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. So let me explain for you and for the listeners. I'm going solo right now. I have a co-host. His name's Ethan Cardwell. Do you know him?
I don't know him, no, but I've heard his name as I've heard your name as well, playing in the Ontario Hockey League. So yeah,
Yeah. So Cardsy's on his way to the Leafs game right now, and we were trying to do like a phone in type of situation, but it isn't working out. And he's with some
yeah,
teammates. So this is my first solo interview. This is our 92nd episode, first time solo. Um,
nice. All right.
So and you as a media guy, I think maybe at the end of this interview, you let me know how I did on my own, and we'll see.
Yeah, you'll do great, man. I can.
Yeah,
We'll co-host it together.
yeah, there we go. So I mean, I think I want to go back first of all. I don't know if you'll remember this. I barely remember it myself, but when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I was playing a game at the Sports Village in Vaughan, and you came into our dressing room and gave a pregame speech for our team.
Wow.
And I don't remember the situation or anything. I just remember you must have been on the Leafs or something. But at that point, I don't know. But it was really cool. And I remember that. And when the Gavin guys texted me, like, oh, you want Frankie Corrado on? I was like, no way. Like, I love this guy. He pumped me up before a game. We probably talked a while.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. You know what? So, like every once in a while, people would reach out and be like, "Hey, if you don't have anything to do, can you come like talk to our minor hockey team?" And like those kinds of requests, you always kind of have to say yes to because you remember, like, you remembered that moment. I remember what it was like being a young kid playing hockey. And, I remember being 7 years old and I was playing hockey, house league hockey in Bolton. And Cujo's kid was playing in Nobleton, which is like the neighboring town. And Cujo came to a game, and it was like the biggest deal, right? To have Cujo at the Bolton Arena. Everyone was swarming him. And like, I remember he signed autographs for all of us, but like that kind of stuff sticks with you, right? So anytime kids are involved, you got to say yes. And hopefully you leave a good impression, not a bad one. So I'm happy you remember it for all the right reasons. I couldn't even tell you what I said. Like I probably just said, "Hey guys, go work hard and have fun,"
Yeah, well, I don't remember much of it. I just remember you being in there. I remember my dad was like the assistant coach, and he gave me the heads up before the game. He didn't say who was coming, but he's like, "We got a surprise for you. Like, get like be excited." And so it was pretty funny. But I mean, now, so you're with your post playing career, working in
Yeah.
media with TSN. Can you just tell us like how that came to be?
Yeah, you know what? I always thought when I stopped playing hockey, I would probably try and get into coaching or player development. I feel like when I played, I kind of had an eye for that kind of stuff and looked at certain things through that lens. And so basically, I was playing in the KHL, had come home with like I just had this, you know, long laundry list of injuries over the last, let's say, 5 years of my career. And playing in the KHL had another one that basically sent me home to try and rehab it with the hopes and intentions of going back and playing. As things dragged out, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. And a friend of mine who works at TSN 1050, I'm sure you know who he is, Al's brother, is what he goes by, and he hosts Leafs Lunch, and he just said, "Hey, you want to come on and do a hit, talk about the Leafs?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." And I guess it went pretty well. And then the producer, Stephanie, asked if I had any interest in co hosting a couple shows with Al's brother because Julia, who's the normal co host, was going to cover the World Juniors. So obviously I said yes. We did a couple shows, didn't think anything of it. And then I got another call from a producer on the TV side at TSN asking if I wanted to get involved with the CHL, which was a new property they were doing. And so that's how it started. And then from there, it snowballed into doing Leaf games on radio, doing the pregame shows, the intermissions, the post games. My buddy Carlo Koliakovo, who hosts the morning show, was awesome in like getting me more reps on the morning show with him. We would do we still do it like a 15-20 minute segment once or twice a week called D to D, where we just kind of chat about hockey and stuff like that. And so as I kind of got more comfortable and more reps over the summer, it kind of turned into, hey, we could use you on some broadcasts, on some Sports Center, Overdrive, all these kinds of things. And like my I guess my thought process was just say yes to everything you possibly can do. And it kind of, going back to when I played where I was not available a lot and very injured, it feels like now I'm very available. And so I try and put myself out there as much as I can. And so, with the way things have kind of heated up here, like, player development, coaching, that kind of stuff remains out of sight, out of mind. And now, I get to watch hockey through a critical eye and talk about it and try and share my experiences that way. So it really started with, a minimal thing and snowballed into what it is now, where I'm working, 20 to 25 days a month.
Okay, wow. So look at you go. So I mean, we'll get into your playing career and stuff too, but I just have a lot of questions about this. So did you know by the end, like by the summer that you weren't going to be playing again this year?
Yeah, you know what? So I trained all summer. I did my rehab, I did my training, I was skating. It kind of got to the point in September where I was, when you're training and you're like, okay, now it usually happens in around August. You're like, it's go time. Like, I got to turn it up here because we got camp right around the corner. So you need that 4 or 5 weeks of more intense skating and training. And I was doing it and I'm like, man, I'm not moving well. Like, I'm slow. Like, I'm sore afterwards, and I'm thinking like, how's this going to hold up for a whole season? And how am I going to skate 6 days a week with, multiple games, morning skates, and skating 2 times a day on game days, travel, poor sleep, all that kind of stuff. And so I was thinking it's probably not going to hold up. So that kind of led me to just, following through with this, and it was a tough realization. Like, my last game that I'll ever play professionally, I left that game halfway through the second period. So it's not exactly like a storybook ending in that way, and so you kind of leave a little bit on the table in that regard. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I realized, probably in September in the fall, I'm like, I don't think this is gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good for you. Some people can't figure it out right away, and you look at you already, and looks like you have a
Yeah,
bright future on that side.
yeah, but the thing is, like, I probably pushed it through a couple too many injuries where I was holding on to it already. So I think I finally got to the point where I'm like, I you travel halfway around the world to go play in Europe, and you want to stay there for the whole whatever it is 8 month season, and to just go and have to come back, you put your whole life on pause that way. So yeah, it definitely it hit hard, but that's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah. So I want to quickly go touch on your OHL career, mostly with the Sudbury Wolves. What I wanted to bring up was when I was like doing a little research on you, I couldn't believe this, but you played with two of my buddies, Brody Silk and Jeff Corbett, and I was shocked
Yeah.
that you lined up with those guys. I love those guys. I was with them at Brock University, and like what I just want to know what was like Silky like in junior.
Funny, like really funny guy. Like he was almost like a class clown for us, where we would be like, "Hey, Silker, do this or do that," and he would be like, "Yeah, no problem, guys." So any kind of shenanigans or any kind of prank or we didn't have to twist his arm too much. Like he really wanted to just live up to that class clown type of thing, and whether it was on the bus or at our home rink on the road, like it was just he just wanted to be the center of attention in a good way, like in a funny way. And then Corbs was like, as you know, like really good guy, like really committed to trying to get better at hockey. And he was one of those guys, like he was a defenseman. So I probably spent a little more time with him. Like, he always wanted to do stuff after practice. And like, I think that was the thing that really stuck out about Corbs is just like, he always wanted to get better. He always asked questions. He was a great teammate. Like Silker was a great teammate as well. But and the two of those guys together, they kind of seem like opposites. And then, like they kind of followed each other a little bit in their careers and they're good friends and all that stuff. And you're like, it doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense. But then when you get to know them, you're like, I guess it all checks out. But they're, yeah, really, really good guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love them both. But I mean, moving into your NHL career, we got Vancouver we want to talk about. So you get drafted by Vancouver, and it's where you got your NHL start. So I want to know who did you get your first NHL goal on, and like how it went down.
Yeah, so my first NHL goal came after 16 games. So, and I had hit the post. Like, I think I hit the post two or three times, which was starting to get old. And it was the last game of the regular season. We were playing Calgary, and I'm pretty sure the Calgary guys, like both teams were missing the playoffs. And, the game was in Vancouver. I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys were out the night before, pushing the pace quite a bit. So anyways, I ended up getting my first goal on Kari Ramo was the goalie. And it was just like a rush play. We entered the zone. We got a shot on net. Puck kind of got rebounded into the corner. Their defenseman panicked and threw it up the wall. And I was about the top of the circle's height. I just picked it clean off the wall, sent a seeing eye wrister on net. There was a little bit of a screen, and I just heard the ping of the post. And then the first thought in my head was like, come on, not again. Right. And then sure enough, the goal horn came on and people were cheering. And I was like, oh, okay, great. It went in finally. And so I had, like I had the one knee in the air celly that I had kind of done for, not that I scored a ton of goals, but the ones I did score. And I kind of knew like, okay, when I score my first NHL goal, I'm going to go one knee in the air, just a little bit of a fist pump, nothing crazy. And we ended up winning that game too. But it was the last game of the season, so it was a nice way to go into the summer.
Oh yeah, the confidence is high going into the gym in the
Yeah,
summer there. So what about playing with the Sedins? Like, how was that for you going in?
yeah, crazy, right? So like I got drafted at 18, and the very first training camp, I've told this story a couple times. You know how you do 2-on-1 drills, right? Like they're pretty mindless. So we're doing 2-on-1 drills. I'm taking a 2-on-1, and then I realize, oh, it's Daniel and Henrik. Like I got a 2-on-1 with Daniel and Henrik. And listen, you're an 18-year-old kid. Like I had arms like spaghetti noodles. I was using this Reebok twig that was like 2 inches too tall for me. And so I remember just trying to keep my stick in the middle. And Henrik made this like beautiful saucer pass. You didn't even see it coming. You know how sometimes guys will dust the puck a little bit and then put it in position to sauce it? He
Mm.
didn't do any of that. Like it was right in the pocket, right where he would normally carry it. And he sauced it. He feathered it right over my stick. By the time like I realized that he'd released it, it was already getting ready to land on Daniel's stick, and he just one-timed it. And it was the most beautiful thing. And that was kind of like a little bit of a wow moment for me. Just even, being at an NHL training camp and seeing those guys in action. But like the best way I used to describe the way they play, they practice. It's like if you ever play a video game and there's like a glitch, where things just always go their way, and the puck always followed each other. And it's not like they were yelling or talking much on the ice. There was always like an understanding of where the other one's going to be. And they were so good. This is such an underrated skill. Picking the puck clean off the wall and like getting it to the middle of the ice is such an underrated skill. I see so many guys, even in the NHL, like they have a hard time. It takes them like an extra half second to just get it off the yellow dasher. They did it with such ease, and a little bit had to do with like the paddles they used for blades. But I mean, that's the one thing. So you think you got a guy cornered because he's going to take a little extra time, or he's going to fumble that puck with his back turns to you. Turned out that like by the time you got there, he had gotten the puck off the wall and he's ready to dish it. So it was really impressive to watch them in games, and especially practices, because that's where you just got to see like all their creativity and saw them, try stuff that, eventually they would do in a game.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I don't think so. We talk. Do you know who Zach Dolpe is?
Yeah. I'm friends with Zach Delpy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he's a friend of the show, a guest we've had on, and he talks about like your times in Vancouver wouldn't have lined up, right?
Yeah, we played together. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So well, he talks about when he was a rookie, some of the like they found out he had a good singing voice, and next thing you know, he ends up on stage at like some charity event singing with Sarah McLachlan and the other rookies, and the Sedins kind of set that thing up. And I was wondering if you had any funny rookie type stories where they made you do something funny like that, like how he ended up on stage in front of 1,000 people singing.
Yeah, and he said something. I think he
He
say
said,
I
"I
love
love
you.
you." Yeah,
Yeah,
we
he
we
said I
made it
love
into
you
a
or
clip. It went
something.
viral. Actually, it was hilarious.
Yeah. Delps, he's such a good guy, and like he's a great guitarist, great singer, all that stuff. Um, I think the one thing that I did was we did this like you like Russian roulette, but with eggs. So we would like we all had hairnets on, and we were sitting on a stage, a bunch of the rookies, and basically it was you grab an egg out of a carton and you put it on your head, and hopefully it's hard boiled, because it would just crack open and nothing would happen. But if it wasn't, there you go, you got egg all over yourself. um I think that's the only one that
That's the
sticks out
weirdest
from.
rookie story I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was like a gala or something like that, and there were a bunch of people there, and everyone was dressed up in suits. And I don't know if you watched that show Corner Gas,
Oh, I've
but
seen it.
Brent
Yeah.
Butt, like he was in the house, and like I was a fan of the show, and I got a picture with him that night too. So all that stuff was awesome. But yeah, it was like I think it was me, Bo Horvat, and someone else. Um, yeah, and we were all just sitting up there, and it was like, oh, grab an egg and hopefully, and then just go like that and see what happens. I don't remember much other than that.
Did you get the hard boiled one or no?
I think I got a normal egg. Like I'm pretty sure I was covered in egg yolk.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
pretty funny. That's a unique one though. We haven't heard a story like that.
yeah. And you did more than one egg. Like I think we finished a dozen between the three or four of us. I can't remember who else was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so here's another funny story. I'll probably tee you up for it rather than tell myself. But so you get waived and you end up in Toronto. And
Yeah.
the Gavin guys tell me the story where you end up in their office dumping Canuck stuff. Do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, so I had, I had a bunch of stuff just you collected over the years, development camps, and so many like people, like, you think about all the your dad comes to all their games and drives you so many places. You want to kind of get them some cool gitch, like as much as it's your journey and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that committed a lot of time and sacrifice along the way. And so, I had a bunch of stuff, and I kind of looked at it. I kept a lot of like the stuff that I knew I would wear. Like I still have a bunch of Canuck stuff. Like I have my hoodies, I have a t-shirt, let's say, from every year. But you have a little bit of a surplus. And so was like, I'm probably not going to wear this stuff. So I just wheeled up into the offices there. I talked to Justin, Stu, and Chris. I was like, here, like, kind of have at it. There's some shorts, some t-shirts, and the boys were happy to get some Canucks gear.
Yeah, Justin told me you like came in the office and you're screaming like I'm a Leaf, and you're just like making it rain Canucks. Like
That might be a little exaggerated. But yeah, I was listen, I grew up a Leaf fan, so it was cool to put the blue and white on. And I think that the craziest thing was like the first time I actually saw my Leaf jersey. Like it kind of just hits you. You're like, well, that's not just a fan jersey like I had when I was a kid. Like that's actually my jersey, and that's my number. Like hopefully I'll get to wear that in a game, which I eventually did. But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
yeah, I couldn't even imagine. But I mean, while we're on the topic with the Gavin guys, I wanted to ask you just I guess overall, what would you like can you talk about the Gavin group quickly and the kinds of things they do for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I got introduced to them, I think, shortly after signing my entry level contract. So it was fairly early in the process, and it was great for me right away because I had, and like even my family, like, we have no idea, like all that is involved in, earning potential, planning for the future, even like the day to day stuff. And right away they made it really clear, like they kind of road mapped out how things work and how we can maximize certain things financially, personally. And so like right away, it was like a no brainer. It was the quickest and easiest decision we ever made. Like I think before we even left the office, my dad and I looked at each other like, no, like we're in, like, we don't need to go home and think about it. Like we're for sure in. And so I've been with them ever since. And, even something that seems as simple as like disability insurance every year, right? Like they would always find a way to get us a good premium and something that makes sense. And then, on the investment side of things, I've been very lucky over my career to earn, like good money. And so they've been making sure the investments grow year after year, and we're invested in things that make sense. And so you never feel like you're doing it alone. You never feel like you're out of your depth, or anything is at risk. You feel like, I felt anyways, I feel super comfortable the whole time being involved with them. And so I think that's part of it too. It's like, you feel comfortable. You don't, it's just, there's less stresses involved. Like there's enough stress when it comes to playing, like especially for me. I was a guy like trying to establish myself in the NHL, in and out of the lineup. Like, there's so much that way that you're kind of thinking about mentally. It's nice to have one thing and one big thing where it's like you can kind of trust them, and they're always going to do right by you.
Yeah, very well said. I love that. So, and the Gavin guys are gonna love that too. So,
Yeah,
we
they'll owe us for that.
yeah. And I mean, keeping it going with Toronto, I'm just curious. Like, I'm a Leafs fan myself. So, what was it like for you? First game as a Maple Leaf, walking into the ACC, knowing you're playing that night. Like, can you just talk about that whole kind of feeling in game?
Like I was always a nervous guy. Like I was an anxiety guy before games, and like just for some reason that night it didn't feel that way. Like there were times throughout my career where, I'll be honest, like I puked before games. Like just something about that night just felt so different and so at ease. And I believe it was against Tampa, and it was at home, and it was I look back now, and people who came to the game sent me videos, in warm up, and I've watched it not too long ago, and I'm like, why the hell am I skating so fast? It's warm up, but like it's just you're not even thinking about anything. You can't wait to get out there. Like I had got claimed on waivers in October, early October, and I didn't make my debut until I believe it was December 15th. So like all that pent up energy, and was just kind of just ready to go. And we had a ton of family in the stands, ton of friends, all that kind of stuff. Like I could see people down by the glass and warm up that I knew. And I think it was really cool because like all the guys on that team kind of made that a pretty awesome night for me too. Like I think about like a guy like Dion, who's such a good leader, such a good guy. Like I remember him just being like, telling me before the game, like, hey man, like this good for you, congratulations, like you're gonna be a Toronto Maple Leaf, no one can ever take that from you, you know, like stuff like that. And I'm like, man, that makes it so special, you know. And so it just felt like the culmination of a lot of, you know, things going right over the course of your life or your career, and you know, a lot of people's hard work and sacrifice just kind of coming together in one night, you know, in my hometown.
Hmm. And another big cool thing that no one can take away from you is you can watch a game in the alumni lounge there at the
Oh,
Scotiabank Arena.
that's
Have you ever
right.
done that?
Yeah, I did. I went to one this year, actually. My wife and I went down on a Saturday night. We got a room for the night, spent the night in the city, went to watch the game at the alumni box. The Leafs beat the Bruins. And it was awesome. That's what, like one thing the Leafs do better. I mean, I don't know about better, but they do it so good and they're so classy is the alumni. Like they really make you feel like you're still a part of the organization. And you know, from all the events they do, the golf outings, the charity games, the alumni box. I mean, you feel like you're really part of a community, and you know, I think it's a tighter knit alumni group. It's a big alumni group, especially because of all the guys who still kind of live in this area and made this home. So, I mean, that's top notch. Like they do such a good job with that.
So Cardsy and I had the privilege of spending one game in the alumni box there, and we go in with there's a couple like legends that we're looking up to there, and Stu Gavin took us in there and stuff. So that night they're
Nice.
serving Harbor 60 steaks there at the buffet, and so me and Cardsy, I have the first one, whatever. There's like a mountain of them in the tray, and they're like
Yeah.
the Leafs guys are like, go on, have another one. Like I'm like, all right, like I'm not gonna say no. So I'm eating another steak, and then sure enough, there's still more left. Like we're in the third period, and they're like, "You guys got to eat more. Like otherwise, we're just gonna get rid of them. We can't let these things go to waste." So these Leafs legends are like force feeding me Harbor 60 steaks in the alumni box. I have no business being in there. I got my drinks getting refilled every time I put my cup down. It was like, what a treat that was. So I mean,
Yeah.
for you to get to be there, like that's awesome, man.
That's wicked. Hey, isn't that so like the older guys just love seeing like the young guys just pound food? Hey, like they're like, no, you get you young kids, you guys will burn it off. You guys eat it, eh?
Yeah,
All the
I ended up
time.
with three steaks in third period. Like I was dying.
Yeah. It's like you're amusing. It's like you're amusing them. Like how many steaks you think this kid can eat?
Yeah, exactly. They're laughing, like just seeing
Yeah.
what I can do for them. But one thing I wanted to ask too, um, I don't know if you have any stories or answers, but what was Babcock like to you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, there's no secret. Like I didn't play for the first 2 months of my tenure there. And like he was kind of one of those guys where he liked to let it be known how much power he had, right? So if he didn't necessarily think you fit into his plans, or you know, he always had a player over the course of his career on every team where he just made a point to be like, that's not my guy, and he's not gonna play. And I was that guy in Toronto, and I'm cool with that. I'll be honest with you, like I know my limit. I knew what my limitations were as a player. Like I was never going to be a, you know, a stud kind of defenseman in that league. But at the same time, we probably could have just cut ties earlier than we did, right? Like it didn't need to drag on as long as it did. But yeah, like nowadays, like I would have no time for him. Like I just think he's shown his true colors, and you know he's essentially just a bully, for lack of a better term. And so you know, that's his prerogative. Like that's how he operates, and I'm sure he sleeps just fine at night. But um, yeah, I mean, as far as like run-ins or encounters, there's stuff that coaches tell you, and you're like, okay, like how much of this is you just trying to get a rise out of me? How much of this is you just trying to, you know, see what I'm all about, right? Like there's a little bit of that mind games, tactics stuff that coaches will do. I always think like honesty is just the best policy. Like if you feel a certain way, hey, just tell me, right? Like I think that's the thing I really appreciate about playing for Torts. Like Torts would tell you straight up. And yeah, sometimes he didn't ease into it, you know. So but at least you could respect the fact that he's actually telling you how he feels instead of trying to mess with your head.
And I think coaching is starting to shift that way. Maybe not necessarily in the NHL, but I know in juniors and stuff, like people are, you can still be a good coach without being a dick, and like coaches who are now, becoming friendly with the players, and that I think that's kind of the way the game's going.
Let me ask you this. Like, okay, so I agree with that. Like, I think there's a lot of young coaches now who want to be a little more approachable. They want to be a little more personable, right? But so if a coach is like that, and then he has reason to just like blow a gasket and lose it on you, don't you think that kind of resonates a little bit more too? Because you're like, whoa, I don't see this a lot from him. Like he must be pretty upset. Like it kind of catches you a little more. Whereas if a guy's just going nuts all the time or trying to play mind games with you, like guys will just tune that out. Like I don't know, guys, the modern day athlete will be like, yeah, this is not for me. Like, you can just gonna call your agent and be like, yeah, this guy's not for me. Can you get me somewhere else? Thanks. Like,
Yeah,
just it
you're
seems like
right about that.
it's yeah, it seems like just be direct, be honest. Hey, if you got to be a bit of a prick, then that's fair, right? Like you got to tell it the way it is. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow as players. Sometimes we take it personally, but be honest, be upfront.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I do think it's going that way. So yeah, and one more kind of Leafs question, and we can keep it moving. But you got some time with Austin Matthews there, so like, how was Austin Matthews when you were there?
Yeah, like listen, he came in as like a man child, right? He was an 18-year-old and he was a moose already. I've told this story elsewhere. Like we were in training camp and we do split groups, right? And so I think I was in the other group, not the Matthews group for most of training camp. I think Marner was in my group. At some point we make like this crossover transition, right? Where we kind of mix the D pairs go with the other group, let's say, and we're just doing a little power play practice. And I don't play, like I'm not a power play guy, but I guess in preseason I played some reps on the power play just because of personnel and stuff like that. And so he kind of sends this saucer pass cross ice to me from half wall to half wall. And it just a little like bounces over my stick just a little bit, right? And he kind of skated over me and goes, "Hey man, that's my bad. I got to put that on your tape." I was like, "No, no, no, man. That was a pretty sick pass. Like I'm pretty sure I got to just take that pass, right?" Like, but you could just see like right away how dialed in he was, and how seriously he kind of takes his craft, right? And like I was there the night that he scored his first four goals in the league. Like I was down below doing my workout as I was a healthy scratch, like I usually was, and like we were in shock, like we couldn't believe it, right? Because like we've never seen anything like this. And if you've ever been a healthy scratch down below in a hockey arena, like you can tell when someone scores, like you just know the feeling. And we would be like, oh, someone scored and there's no goal horn, so it's definitely us. And who is it? And then it was like, oh, it's Austin. And the first time I was like, oh man, amazing, good for him. The second time we're like, he did it again. Like, what a great story. And then once it got to the third one, you're like, this is out of control. Like, this guy is unbelievable. And he was like that. Like, he improved so much, from the first day of training camp all throughout that season, where he started, looking like a guy who you're like, this guy's going to be good. And then by the end of the season, you're like, no, this guy is already a star in the league, which was so impressive.
Yeah, no, I still remember that game. It was so cool, and then even moving into Pittsburgh. So Cardsy is he's drafted by San Jose, so he's now a San Jose fan, but he was a Pittsburgh fan because his grandfather played for the Penguins actually. So, how was your time in Pittsburgh and playing with Sidney Crosby?
Yeah, it was cool. Like I wasn't there that much. I think I only played 7 games with the Pens, but I was there like prior to um tearing my ACL. I had been there for about 2 or 3 months. Same kind of thing. Like just wasn't getting in the lineup. It was a healthy scratch, all that kind of stuff. And like here's a story about Sid. Like there was a day off that was a day off for everyone except for the guys that haven't been playing. So I was at the arena, maybe a couple other guys. And so we're going into the weight room just to warm up, roll out, all that stuff. And there's Sid, like he's got like 2 plates on the bar, and he's doing like split squats. And we're like, oh, I didn't even know anyone else was here, right? But there he is, putting in a big leg workout, and no one told him he had to. But that's just the kind of guy, like that's how he operates. And like even I've seen some star players where they practice, they're on the ice for 30, 35 minutes. They're the first guys off, they're showered, they're gone. And like, hey, that's all good. But Sid will grab you. Like he'll grab a guy like me, let's say, and be like, I need you to pass to me from here to here, and I need to work on this. Can you do that for me? I'm like, yeah, I'll pretty much I'll pass to you wherever you want, man. Like I think that's pretty cool. And so, he would always want to do stuff with guys after practice. And I just think like he's so hardworking. And if you're a player on that team, you just have to fall in line. Like, he sets the tone in that regard. And so like there's just no room for anyone to not be that way. If the best player in the world, one of the best players in the world, and he's the captain of your team, he's the best player on the team, if he's doing that, like there's no room for you not to. So he does a good job for that with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like we kind of been talking about, you were an up and down guy and you spent some time in the minors. So I'm just curious, do you have any stories where you're like, wow, like this would never happen in the show, or like I'm definitely down right now, like anything like that?
Yeah. So my first year, we were in Utica, upstate New York, and we had to go play games in Abbotsford, which is in BC. You can imagine the logistical nightmare as far as getting there goes. So basically, we would all drive to the arena in Utica. We would take a bus to the airport in Syracuse, about an hour away, fly from Syracuse to Toronto, and then have a layover, fly from Toronto to Vancouver, and then bus from Vancouver to Abbotsford. You still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we get to the airport in Syracuse, and I guess like because we were a brand new team, like we had never done this before. We get to the airport in Syracuse, and we have all our bags, all our trunks, everything. And they look at us and they're like, yeah, that's great. We are not equipped with enough staff to get all that on these flights and get you guys out in time, because we didn't know. We just thought you kind of show up, right? So anyways, it took a while for them to get things sorted out, but we couldn't get that flight. Like we couldn't get that route that I just told you. So half the guys had to fly through Chicago, have a layover there, and then arrive in Vancouver. Then half the guys went through Toronto. And we were literally sitting there checking bags ourselves, like one at a time, like for, I don't know, man, it must have taken at least an hour and a half to get everything checked in, because we had never done it before. And so if that's an NHL team, it's just like you hop on the bird, it's a charter, you fly straight to Vancouver, and away you go. Like we left, so we got to the arena in Utica at 4:40 in the morning. We didn't get into Abbotsford, BC until just before 10 p.m. Pacific time. So think about how long of a day that would be. Like that's closing in on a 24-hour travel day. And like it's a 20-hour travel day, and that was just a disaster. And you're like, this is, if nothing else is the minors, this is the minors for sure.
Yeah, wow. That is a good
Yeah.
one, man. And did they at least feed you okay on that trip?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, we had our per diem and all that stuff, but I also had one. Speaking of per diem, there was one time, I guess this wasn't with Utica. I can't remember what team this was with, but they overpaid us per diem. And we were all at dinner. We saw our per diem. We're like, oh, this is pretty good. They gave us a little extra this time. So a bunch of us went to like a, upscale steakhouse. And we got a text halfway through dinner. Hey guys, we gave you too much per diem. We're going to need to collect it back tomorrow. And all the guys are sitting at dinner laughing, like, dude, there's no chance, right? But sure enough, like our guy was like looking for the extra 25, $30 that he gave us. We're like, dude, like it's spent. Like just take it out of the next trip. You know what I mean? Like it's all good, right? Anyways, no, we had to go to the ATM. Everyone had to find a way to pay that per diem back. That was bonkers.
Oh man, that's so funny. I'm just writing that down because that's got to be a clip. Um, that is funny, man. And so even just quickly, like I want to quickly touch on Sweden before we kind of get into some more fun type of stuff. But what was it like? You played for Modo, so
Yeah.
what was like your first taste playing in Europe, and how was that? And Cardsy in the OHL canceled season played in Sweden, so I was hoping he'd be here to talk about that with
Oh,
you, but
okay.
so I can't really
Yeah.
relate. But how was
Well,
it?
we'll have to ask him. You'll have to ask him about the food because I thought the food in Sweden was incredible. Like the cuisine there was so good, and they do like no food is ever dry. You don't need anything dry. Like everything has a sauce on it, and the sauce is like buttery and creamy, and it's delicious. I'm a big coffee guy, and the coffee there's strong, so I really like that. As far as playing goes, like they play with one speed, man. Like they are go 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 kind of hockey, and like there's a ton of puck pursuit, and they're always kind of in your face. And the way I explained it to people as a defenseman is like there's no freebies, like there's no free play. Like there's always a guy on you. They're all these kind of like water bug kind of players, which always made for hard nights. And then playing in Moto was wicked. Like we had a unbelievable arena. It might be one of the best arenas in Sweden. And just even like in that town, like they live and breathe hockey. Like you can tell like there's something in the water there that just produces unbelievable hockey players, and you can see it every morning because they have all the youth, the minor hockey players, the junior guys. It's such a hockey factory, man. Like it was really cool to see. It's such a well-oiled machine in that regard. Like our team was a bit of a disaster. Like we didn't even make the playoffs, and they've been relegated and they haven't been able to get back up. Although this year they have a good chance, so that hasn't necessarily been a well-oiled machine recently. But I mean, when you think of some of the names like the Twins, Naslund, Forsberg, Victor Hedman, Linus Allmark, Victor Olofsson, like the list of unbelievable players that came from there, it's so long, and they're all unbelievable. So it was really cool. It was really eye opening to see a city like that where hockey is just literally the main event and the main attraction, and it's kind of what everyone just kind of lives and breathes there.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know about European hockey and stuff, like Moto is a name that most people know in Sweden. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there you have it, even over here. So that's super cool. It must have been awesome, and you get to be that like celebrity again. Like you're still living it in the show, and
Well, it was interesting though because they kind of let you be. Like we had our names on our cars, name and number on our cars. So like everywhere I went in the city, there it was number 5, Frank Corrado, and you'd be surprised at how little people actually would come up to you, and maybe they just didn't like us, but we would kind of all the imports, we would roll around, go to restaurants, and go around the town. It's like people just kind of let you do your thing, and I thought that was interesting too.
that's crazy about the car thing. Did you see this thing and you're like, take it off? Like, how do you react to that?
All the imports, like anyone who had a car deal with the team had their name and number on the car. So anywhere, like you could see where the boys were, like you kind of roll around town and you're like, oh, what's going on over here? You fire a text like, hey, I see the car. What's going on?
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow. All right, so we got a couple fun things to kind of wrap it up here. We got some personality questions to start with, get to know you a little bit more. So, how would your teammates describe you?
Um, Probably like high strung.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think that's like a good thing?
No, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I just think like if you're a guy that's puking before games and you're nervous and anxious and you're doing a 30-minute warm up for a practice, like your teammates just probably think you got to relax a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Were you nervous for AHL games or just for show games?
I think it got to the point where like as the injuries piled up, I would get more and more nervous because I was like, man, I just hope I get out of this one feeling good.
Yeah. Do you have any like
Yeah.
lingering things now?
Not too bad. Like now I'm just kind of like a one of those Peloton guys. Like I'm just ripping the Peloton a few times a week. I do some like curls and all the stuff that now it's like I'll grab a 45-pound dumbbell and I'll do a whole workout with that because it's like I don't have to put a bar on my back anymore. Like I don't have to deadlift 315 pounds or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a little refreshing to just kind of do things that just make you feel pretty good.
Fair enough. Interesting when we get some weird answers sometimes. Sometimes we don't, but how do you eat a cupcake?
I kind of like to work it around. Like I like to some okay, here's the way I am. Like I'm like in a box. Like I like to be structured, organized, and I like to do things the same every single time. So it's not like I'm eating a cupcake and it's a wild card thing. It's like I try and get a little bit of the bottom, a little bit of the top. Like it's a very, very balanced approach, if that makes sense.
Okay. And you said you work it around. So are you like taking a bite and rotating until you're like
Yeah,
filling
like
it?
I'll do like a rotating thing.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then just kind of like flooding the ice, just attack it perimeter until you get to the middle there.
Pretty much. Yeah. And then you're kind of left with the bottom and then it's just like, 2, 3 bites down she goes.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
So very organized and planned. That's very logical. Um, Now, if you were stranded on an island with three other people from a list of everyone you've ever played with, who would you want them to be and why?
Ooh, okay. That's a good one. I would want Dion Phaneuf there. 100%. I would want Dion because he's the best guy. He's hilarious, good leader, all that kind of stuff. So Dion's got to be there. Um, who else? Who else would I want there? Like who? Oh, my buddy. Like I gotta have my main man, Josh Levo. We were
Oh yeah.
roommates in Sudbury in junior. We got along great. Still keep in touch to this day. Like that's my guy. So I gotta have Josh there. And then if there's one more guy that I played with, hey, that's a good one. Oh, guy I played in Sweden with Brendan Mickelson. He played in the NHL. He played for Anaheim and Calgary and Tampa. We hit it off in Sweden, and he's just like he's the. You think I'm not that organized and detailed compared to him. Like this guy is so dialed in every aspect of life. I think he's actually working in the financial sector now. So yeah, those would be my three guys.
Okay. Very good. And now we'll get
Yeah.
into some this or that questions. So I'm just gonna list things, two options, and you just pick your one. We move to the next, just rip through these. So
Yeah.
shoot first or pass first?
Shoot first.
Black tape or white tape?
Black tape.
Sidney Crosby or the Sedins?
Ooh, Sid.
Okay. Ray Ferraro or Darren Dreger?
Oh, that's a tough one. oh, oh man, that is a tough one. I mean, I don't work with Ray anymore, like because Ray's doing ESPN now, but and I work with Dregs, so it's got to be Dregs. That's my coworker.
Okay, there we go. Dregs.
yeah.
And hey, Dregs is a former guest of our podcast too, so we support that answer.
Okay. Shout out to Dregs. I talk to Dregs when I need scoops or stuff like that. So yeah,
Okay. Ice cream or milkshake?
ice cream,
Candy or chocolate?
chocolate.
Yeah. And last one,
Yeah.
breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast?
Breakfast for dinner all day.
Okay, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So now all we have left, we have some fan questions for you, and then we can let you go. And I guess
All
actually,
right.
you want to tell the listeners what you got going on tonight? We haven't even said it.
Oh yeah, sure. Tonight we got the CHL Top Prospects game on TSN. Connor Bedard will be playing. Games out in Vancouver. The thing that I'm kind of like most interested in is this: Bedard has dominated the WHL as at an early age, as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, now as a 17-year-old. He dominated the World Juniors as a 17-year-old tournament that's designed for 19 and 20-year-olds. What kind of performance is this guy going to put together tonight against only draft eligibles, only 17-year-olds? Like I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tune in too. And do you have the call on the radio, or are you what are you doing for it exactly?
I'll
Sorry.
be doing the panel. So I'll be doing the
Okay.
pregame. Our pregame show kicks off at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll do a half-hour pregame show, and then we'll be doing intermissions. So I'll be
Okay.
on TV. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
I'll
man.
be cheering for you. Don't get too nervous before though, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I actually get more nervous. I don't know if I get more nervous now. I feel like I've had enough of these reps. I don't feel too nervous.
Yeah. Anyway, so okay, couple fan questions here. So I mean, you've had some pretty big name coaches through your career. So do you have any funny coach stories?
Ooh, funny coach stories. Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure. I'm just trying to think of the guys. I'll tell you a good Torts one. So I don't know if it was one of those things where you just had to be there or not. But anyways, I was 20 years old. It was my third NHL training camp. It was the year I was going to turn pro, so I could be sent to the American League. And I had a pretty good camp actually, and I scored a nice goal in my last preseason game. Had a goal and an assist, and the goal was against Henrik Lundqvist and all that kind of stuff. And I was doing a post game interview right after the game, and the reporter goes, how do you feel? You feel about your chances? I said, you know what? I don't know. I felt like I kind of left it all out there and all that stuff. And then the reporter goes, well, if we think you're probably making the team, like that's, all that, he started saying that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, it's really nice of you. That's cool. Thanks. So interview finishes. Team services guy taps me on the shoulder. He goes, Torts wants to see you in his office. Oh, okay. And so I go into his office and I'm like, oh, this is weird. So before I can even sit down, first thing Torts says, we're sending you to Utica. like 30 seconds ago, some guy was like, you probably made the team. Like, no. But he was great. Like, he was like, you just got to go. You got to play. You're not going to stick around here, be a healthy scratch, be a seventh, eighth defenseman. He goes, young defensemen should go down and play a ton and all that kind of stuff. Torts was great that way. But yeah, so it's just kind of the way that transaction went down. Pretty funny.
Yeah, it is funny, but it's straight up and honest, just like you said earlier. So you can appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
Who was the funniest person that you've played with?
Funniest guy I played with, like Leo Komarov was pretty funny. Dion Phaneuf was really, really funny. Like, I don't know, something about Dion just cracked me up every single day. He wasn't even trying to be funny a lot of the times, but it just made me crack up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any good locker room prank stories or just prank stories in general?
You know what? Like every once in a while, the old laces coming out of the bottom of your skate trick would be a good one. So you take someone's skates and you relace them so that, in order to tie them, that happens at the bottom of the skate. So guys don't notice until it's kind of too late, I did that once. I did that once to Ben Sherratt. And the next day I found my equipment up on the Wolf that was at center ice in the Sudbury Arena. And so I had to fish it in back into the area where it usually stays, and then get all my gear down and then get back down to the dressing room and get dressed in time for practice. So I thought that was a pretty good one on both ends, but I got the worst of that.
That's a great one, actually. That's a good story.
Yeah.
How about two more for you? From someone you may know, what are your thoughts on Friday Hills with Renzo?
Oh, the best. The best. Yeah. I mean, like you just show up and you're like, what does this diabolical man have planned for us? And he kind of just runs it down, and everything he says, your heart just sinks a little bit more and you're like, no. And then he says the next thing, you're like, no. And then he's like, all right, boys, get to it. And it's a good, it's fun at the end of the day. It's a great workout, but it is such a grind. And Renzo's the man. Who sent that one in?
Jordan Sandbrook sent that one in.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's a good dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. So just to explain, I think for the listeners who don't know, I think it's you just put a bunch of weights on your back and you're running hills. Is that what it is?
Pretty much, yeah. So he's got a bunch of things, he's got tell you to do a bunch of crawls up the hill. So you do forward crawls up the hill, backward crawls up the hill. And we're not talking a mound. This is a legitimate, almost a ski hill, if you want to call it that, right? And then he's got sleds, he's got chains, he's got tires, he's got weight vests, he's got kettlebells, and basically you just got to do all these exercises with all these things up the hill and a certain amount of times, and that's an hour. It's an hour of hell, basically.
Okay. Wow. Must feel good coming out of that one though. And then
it does. Yeah.
Last fan question for you. Do you have any weird or what's your weirdest fan interaction that you've ever had?
I was going through this phase where I didn't want to bump too many high fives with fans and stuff, because I'm I touch my face with my glove a lot, right? And it's I feel the more high fives we do, the more that's not that I'm a germaphobe. I don't know. Anyways, I would just reserve it for mostly children, let's say, right? Because kids, you can't really say no to them. And we were at a fan event, and a lady comes up to me. She goes, "How come you don't give everyone high fives?" I was like, "Well, that's interesting." I said, "How did you even notice that?" "Yeah, I see you. You don't give everyone high fives. You're the only guy that doesn't do it." I'm like, I said, I'll be honest with you. So I told her, and she was like, "Okay, I can understand that. I can respect that." Yeah,
Okay, yeah, especially now
yeah,
post COVID, I think that's very reasonable too.
dude. This was like way pre-COVID. I was ahead of my
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
yeah, you were a trendsetter. Um,
yeah.
that's awesome. Well, I mean that's all we got for you. I say we because I'm so used to having Cardsy here. That's all I got for you.
Wow, you
Um,
did a great job. You're
yeah, you
natural.
think? Yeah.
100%.
All
Yeah,
right.
great
Well,
job.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you giving us and our listeners the time, and I'm excited to catch you as on TV tonight. I'll give it a watch and go Bedard and everybody. So yeah, thanks
Yeah,
again for
buddy.
giving your time.
Thank you. I'll come back on anytime.
All right, I want to thank Frankie Corrado for that one. Awesome to talk with him and Toronto Maple Leafs legend. So as a Leafs fan, you gotta love that. And anyway, I mean, Cards, you got, like you were saying at the beginning of the episode here, you got the road trip over to your old stomping grounds in Saginaw. So, are you excited to be back there? Like, what's up for the week ahead?
Yeah, I'm really excited, man. Like, it's been like it feels like it's been a whirlwind of 3 years, all kind of mixed into one with COVID and everything like that. So, I mean, I got traded, and 2.5 months later, I'm in Barrie, and COVID becomes a thing, and really, you lose touch with a lot of the people that mean so much to you, and you spend so much time with in Saginaw and my billets especially. So it's going to be an amazing time to just be able to go back, kind of just see everything that I've missed for so long, and then also yeah, be able to go over my billets and a few of the our family friends now that we've had in Saginaw over the years and stuff. So to be able to just head back there, it'll definitely be something really cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, just being on the road also. You can never complain about a good old road trip with the boys. Um, on the bus, late nights on the road, and stuff like that. So always good times there. Play a little bit of cards, do a little bit of this and that, and yeah. It's also a big weekend for us too, man. Like 3 games in 3 nights against three like legitimate and good Western Conference teams too that all have like great rosters, and you're gonna give us a good fight every night. So we're looking forward to it on in that sense. And then for a few guys, I mean, Veerling's making his return to Flint as well, and then punter alongside me coming back to Sag for the first time. So yeah, it feels like just yesterday I got traded. So now to go back, it'll be exciting. I don't even know what to think yet.
So, is it your first time back there?
Yeah, man. Like
I didn't.
because
Okay,
of
I didn't know it was your. Now I realize, but I didn't know that it was your first time back there.
yeah, because like legit COVID happened, so no season. Um, and then last year we only played the
Yeah.
Eastern Conference because of COVID
Yeah.
as well. And then yeah, so this is the first time I've played them twice since I've been traded, but I've never been back to the Dow.
Okay. Wow. You think you're gonna get a standing O?
I don't know if anybody even remembers me anymore. Maybe they'll remember the biggest goal in Spirit history, but no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Yeah, it's been a while, so maybe, but I'm just looking forward to it. I always liked playing there. So
I'll tell Drinks to get the video tribute going, and we'll get something
yeah,
something ready.
shoot drinks a text. I want a Johnny Gaudreau esque video. What do you call it? Video tribute. Actually, that reminds me too. Um, what were your thoughts on the video clips of Gaudreau's team booing him? You saw those?
Yeah. Did you see him miss the penalty shot?
Oh yeah, the rink erupted.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the fan base hates him. Like for somewhat like for the fans, it feels good to see him like get booed and missed. Like you actually feel like you impacted the game probably there. Like it's one of those times. Like if there's no one booing there, he's not probably not feeling as much pressure, and he definitely would hit the net. I would think like they actually impacted that shot.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the booze impacted. And it's just like you're going down and you're like, okay, there's 19,000, 20,000 people in this building and they all want to see me miss. Like that's just way more added pressure than you already need. Like a shootout's enough pressure as it is, and then to throw that on top of it, or a penalty shot rather. But yeah, that was an interesting one.
Yeah, it was cool, man. But you know what? You always get up for a game like you go into Saginaw when you have something more like a little more mentally kind of going on to play for. So I think I don't want to make my prediction. I made my prediction in my head. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to curse it. But I think you're gonna have a good game.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Yeah, I'm really amped up. So hopefully I get the booze. I didn't leave in free agency though, so I mean, but
They're gonna be
I get a
booing
penalty
drinks. They're
shot.
gonna be
Everyone's
booing
going,
drinks for trading you. He's gonna
yeah.
get the booze.
Oh, that's hilarious, man. Oh, that's good
Yeah.
stuff. But actually, next week I'll be able to have some comments about that. And you got a big weekend coming up, 8 and 10, and I'm going to the Leaf game tonight. So we'll have a bunch to talk about next week, along with the Bachelor too, as long as I get caught up. So I'm
Mhm.
excited and looking forward to next week's episode now.
Yeah. So with that said, snowy day here. You want to wrap it up with an outro?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a blizzard, and if you're tuning in the Thursday morning right now and watching this episode, I'm sure the roads still aren't great, so be careful out there driving, get from point A to point B safe as possible. And with that being said, I mean I kind of hyped up next week's episode, so let's just roll on into that, and everyone have a great week.